On Christmas Eve, I stepped into my parents' living room, brushing the snow from my boots, and was immediately struck by a large, glossy family portrait hanging above the fireplace. Everyone was there. My mother in her favorite red blazer, my father with his characteristic awkward grin, and my sister front and center, exuding charm in a beige turtleneck. But I was absent, completely cropped out. It wasn't a mistake. It was a deliberate omission, as if I had been smoothly photoshopped out of their lives. Dinner proceeded with the usual performances. My father carved the roast with practiced precision, my mother complimented my sister's skincare routine, and no one inquired about my life. The only question directed at me was about my car, a subtle indication of their detachment. My sister received a vintage gold watch while I was handed a mug labeled "Somebody's Favorite Daughter," a gift that felt more like a jab than a joke. That night, in the guest room, no longer referred to as my room, I sat on the edge of the bed, holding an envelope I had intended to give them the next morning. But after seeing that portrait, I decided they needed to see it sooner. The envelope contained a copy of my grandfather's will, revealing that he had left a rental property to me, a fact my parents had concealed while collecting rent from it for years. They had not only erased me from a photograph but had also exploited my inheritance. The next morning, I placed the envelope on the table. When they opened it, my mother's eyes filled with tears and my father turned pale. I calmly informed them of my discovery, reclaiming ownership of the property and severing ties with those who had systematically excluded me. As I left, the cold air felt invigorating, a stark contrast to the stifling atmosphere I had endured. Sometimes the most powerful statement is walking away, reclaiming one's narrative, and finding peace in the silence that follows. The morning sunlight filtered through the beige curtains of the guest room, but it didn't feel warm. It felt clinical, like the waiting room of a place you didn't want to be. Alex sat up slowly, the mattress groaning beneath him as if it, too, was tired of pretending to be comfortable. He rubbed the sleep from his eyes and looked around the room that used to be his. It didn't remember him. None of it did. Downstairs, the clatter of dishes and the hum of polite holiday conversation drifted up like background noise on a TV show. His family was already deep into their Christmas morning routine: cinnamon rolls, coffee, forced cheer. He sat for a few more moments staring at the envelope on the nightstand. Heavy, thick, embossed. It didn't look like revenge. It looked like truth. And for the first time in a long time, he felt ready to tell it. By the time he walked into the kitchen, the show was already halfway through. His sister Claire was opening an envelope that clearly held tickets to something expensive. Skiing, maybe, or Paris. She gasped, clutched her chest, turned to their parents with the wide-eyed wonder of someone who's never heard no. Alex walked past her without a word and poured himself some coffee. "Did you sleep okay?" his mom asked, not looking up from her artfully plated scrambled eggs. "The mattress has a personality," he said flatly. She laughed like he was joking. He wasn't. They moved on quickly. Claire talked about Barcelona and jet lag and the struggle of choosing which designer coat to pack. Their dad nodded along, offering travel advice like a concierge. Alex just sipped his coffee and waited. When breakfast was over, he placed the envelope on the table. No ceremony, no explanation. "What's this?" his mom asked, frowning at the seal. "That's from me," he said. "I'd prefer you didn't open it now." Which, of course, meant they opened it immediately. It took less than 30 seconds for the energy in the room to change. His dad leaned over his mom's shoulder as she flipped through the pages. Claire stopped mid-sip of her almond milk and leaned in too. Their faces fell in stages: shock, confusion, realization. And then something Alex hadn't expected: fear. His father's voice, always so steady, cracked a little. "Where did you get this?" Alex didn't raise his voice, didn't flinch. "Public records, title searches, the will that you both lied about." Claire's eyes darted between them. "What will? What are you talking about?" "My inheritance," Alex said. "The rental property Grandpa left to me. The one you all pretended didn't exist. The one you used to pay for your vacations, your tuition, your lifestyle." Silence. His mom finally spoke. "We thought you wouldn't want the responsibility. You were always busy, always so far away." Alex met her gaze. I was far away because you made it clear I didn't belong here. His dad pushed back his chair, defensive rising in his chest. You need to calm down. Alex stood up slowly. And you need a lawyer. The silence that followed was the kind that made your skin prickle. Claire's voice cracked. That house paid for my art school. I know, Alex said, and now it belongs to me. Officially. He didn't yell, didn't curse, didn't gloat. He simply picked up his coat and walked to the door. Wait, his mom said. You're really doing this? You're cutting us off over money? He turned back one last time. Not over money, over the truth. You cut me out of your lives years ago. I'm just finally returning the favor. And with that, he stepped into the cold, clean air of Christmas morning, the truth finally spoken, and silence finally earned. The moment Alex placed the envelope on the coffee table, he knew there was no turning back. It sat there quietly like an unspoken accusation in crisp ivory paper. No red ribbon, no gift tag, just weight. Not the kind you measure in ounces, but in years, in the silent dinners, in every unreturned call, in every time he was asked to shrink himself so his sister could shine. His mom was the first to notice it. 10 minutes into the gift unwrapping frenzy, her eyes landed on the envelope. Because heaven forbid anything sit out of place on her reclaimed wood table without purpose. What's this? She asked the room, her voice light, like it might be a misdelivered wedding invitation. Alex didn't even look up. He just took another sip of coffee and said, It's from me. His dad smiled, distracted. You didn't have to get us anything. I know, Alex replied. I wanted to. That line changed the temperature of the room. His mom sat down slowly, turning the envelope in her hands. Should we open it now? He shrugged. I'd rather you didn't. So of course they did. His dad leaned over her shoulder as she broke the seal. The sound of paper sliding out was suddenly the only sound in the room. The crinkle of pages shifting. The echo of truth being unfolded, literally. Alex watched his sister arrange the handles of her new designer tote. Perfectly symmetrical, like she was preparing it for an Instagram flat lay. Then the silence changed. Thickened, hardened. His mom's eyes scanned faster. First page, second, third, her movements becoming frantic, as if flipping fast enough could somehow undo what was written. His sister looked up. What is it? No one answered. Alex stood, calmly. Figured it was time you knew. Merry Christmas. His mom finally spoke, voice small and brittle. What is this? A copy of Grandpa's will, he said, each word landing like a pebble dropped in still water. Her face froze. I've seen the will. We handled the estate. No, Alex said. You handled what you told me was the estate. You never showed me the full will. Just said he left a few keepsakes and cash that covered funeral costs. His dad's hands trembled as he dropped the pages like they burned. Where did you get this? Public records, title searches, tax filings, a couple phone calls, a very patient lawyer. His sister stood, confused. Wait, what rental property? The one by the park? Alex replied. The one you used for that photo shoot last year? Yeah, that one. Her jaw dropped, but nothing came out. I was the sole beneficiary, he continued. Full title transferred. That house was left to me. His dad rubbed his temples. You don't understand. It's not that simple. It is, Alex said. You collected rent illegally for years. Renovated it. Used the money. That's theft. His mom tried to soften the blow. We didn't think you wanted the responsibility. You've always been so far away. I was far away, Alex said, because I was made to feel I didn't belong. His dad stood up, voice rising. You need to calm down. Alex turned to him, eyes steady. And you need a lawyer. The room went still. I'm not suing yet, he added. But I've already reclaimed ownership. The tenants were notified. Rent goes to me now. Your access? Revoked. His mom's face crumpled. That house was our income. We depended on it. Then maybe, Alex said, you shouldn't have stolen it. We're family, she whispered. No, he replied. You're people I used to be related to. There's a difference. And with that, He grabbed his coat, the silence behind him heavy and deafening. He opened the door, paused just once when his dad growled, "If you leave now, don't come back." Alex turned his head slightly. Finally, something we agree on. Then he stepped into the cold air outside, a sharp breath of freedom he hadn't tasted in years. 3 weeks passed, 3 weeks of quiet mornings, lukewarm coffee, and no phone calls from numbers I used to answer out of habit. Not even a text, and I should have felt peace, should have felt victorious. But instead, I felt like I was standing in the eye of a storm that hadn't fully passed, just stalled, waiting to start spinning again. The silence didn't last. It began with a message from my mother, short, formal, like she was emailing a client, not reaching out to her child. "Hi, sweetheart. We've been talking and we think there's been a misunderstanding. Can we chat sometime this week? Hope you're well. Love you." No punctuation after "love you," just dangling there like an afterthought, like a sentence she didn't really mean to finish. I didn't reply. 2 days later, another message. "Please don't let this one thing ruin everything. Your sister is very upset. Dad's trying to stay calm, but you know how he gets when he feels blindsided." Blindsided. That was the word that got me. Not betrayed, not ashamed, not even sorry. Blindsided, as if they were the ones who'd been wronged. Then came the voicemail from my dad. I didn't listen to it. I saw the notification, stared at it for a full minute, then swiped it away. The last time he called me kiddo, it was while I was trying to help him set up his retirement account, and he laughed, said, "Let's leave the money stuff to people who understand it." Right, like him. But the real cherry on top? My sister's email. "You really think this makes you the winner? Fine, take the house, but don't come crying back when you realize money doesn't buy family." It was followed by another message a day later. "Mom and Dad are really stressed. They're talking about selling the condo. That's what you wanted, right? Congrats." I read that one twice, not because it hurt, but because it confirmed exactly what I suspected. The property I reclaimed wasn't just sentimental, it was foundational. It was holding up their entire financial structure. The rent from the units had been paying their mortgage, vacations, even bits of my sister's art career. When I took it back, everything began to crack. I hadn't even asked for back rent yet. Through mutual acquaintances, old neighbors, former classmates, I started hearing whispers that my dad had taken up consulting, which probably meant cold calling past clients and hoping someone still owed him a favor. That my mom was working weekends at a boutique downtown, the same boutique she used to shop at when she wanted to treat herself. And my sister, back home. The loft in the city was too expensive now that her art collective had disbanded, or imploded, hard to say. She started a GoFundMe for a new creative chapter. It raised $83. Two of those dollars were from my ex-boyfriend. I don't know why that detail made me laugh, but it did. Not out of cruelty, but because it all suddenly felt like a satire. The curated lives, the photos, the posts, the performances, undone by the one truth they never thought I'd find. Meanwhile, I poured my energy into the house, my house, the one they tried to erase me from. I replaced the drafty windows, painted the porch, replanted the backyard garden I remembered from childhood, now wild and untamed, but still full of possibility. I left one room empty, not for them, for myself, a space to breathe, to exist without pretending. One of the tenants, a single mom named Rachel, left me a note after I lowered the rent by $50. "You're the first landlord who's ever treated me like a human being." That meant more than any of their half-hearted apologies ever could. I wasn't living for their approval anymore. I was building something I'd never been given growing up: stability and peace, even if it came at the cost of family. It's been almost a year now, 12 full months since I laid that envelope on the coffee table and watched the truth tear through a carefully rehearsed illusion. A year since I walked out of that house with my back straight and my heart still beating, barely. Back then, I didn't know what came next. I only knew I couldn't keep playing a role in a family that edited me out of the picture, literally. Today, I still live in the house. My house. The one my grandfather left me, the one they pretended didn't exist until they got caught. At first, it was just four walls and a painful reminder. Every creaky floorboard whispered betrayal. Every leftover wine glass in the cabinet echoed a toast I was never invited to. But over time, the silence softened. The bitterness began to fade. Now, this house feels like healing. I painted the front door sunflower yellow, not because it matched anything, but because I wanted it to feel like something good waited inside. I rebuilt the backyard garden from scratch. I knew nothing about gardening when I started, but the soil didn't care. It just needed patience, sunlight, and water. Simple things, honest things. Every morning, I sit by the kitchen window with my coffee and watch the light spill in across the tile floor. It's the kind of peace you don't notice until you've lived without it for a long, long time. Do I still hear from them? Occasionally, a forwarded email from my aunt, a message through a cousin about some health scare or family news. Once a Christmas card showed up with a generic, "Thinking of you, hope you're well." No return address, no apology, just a ghost of an obligation. I didn't reply. I didn't throw it away either. It sits in a drawer, next to my mother's last letter, a monument to the love they only offered when it was convenient. I don't hate them. I used to, maybe. I used to dream about screaming matches, about finally being heard. But hate takes energy, and I needed that energy to build something better. So now I just let it go. Last week, I took a picture of myself in front of the house, holding the keys, smiling. Not the forced kind of smile I used to practice in family photos, but a real one. Honest, unposed. No one had to crop me out of this picture. No one else needed to be in it. I printed it out, framed it, and placed it above the mantel, right where their perfect family photo used to hang. Except this time, it was just me. And you know what? That was enough. It took me almost 30 years to realize I never needed their approval, that I was never broken, just ignored, that I didn't need to earn love by shrinking myself to fit into their story. I could write my own, and I did. I see it in the small things now, the way I decorate for the holidays just because it makes me smile, not because it'll impress someone. The way I light a candle at dinner, even if it's just takeout. The way I say no without guilt. The way I exist without apology. If you had told me a few years ago that walking away from my family would be the most loving thing I'd ever do for myself, I wouldn't have believed you. But here I am, living proof that peace isn't something others hand you. It's something you build. Slowly, deliberately, brick by brick. So if you're standing at the edge of a line you're scared to cross, wondering if choosing yourself makes you selfish, hear this: it doesn't. Sometimes the most sacred thing you can do is save a seat at your table just for you. 3 years had passed since I walked out of my parents' house, leaving behind the envelope and the weight of a family that had never really seen me. In that time, I didn't just find distance, I found clarity. Healing hadn't been loud. It wasn't some dramatic transformation. It was quiet, steady, like a muscle slowly regaining strength after being strained for too long. The house, my house, became my sanctuary. I fixed it up room by room, not just to erase their presence, but to claim it fully as mine. I repainted the walls in soft shades of green and gray. I replaced the curtains with ones that let in the morning sun. I planted lavender and rosemary in the backyard and added a small bench near the garden. Every nail hammered, every flower planted was a declaration. I belong here. It wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming what had always been mine, my space, my voice, my worth. I started going to therapy again, not because I was broken, but because I wanted to understand the pieces. I talked about the silence in my childhood, the years of feeling invisible, and how I'd grown used to earning affection through accomplishments. My therapist said something that stuck with me. You were never asking for too much. You were asking the wrong people. That hit me hard. In the spring, I started volunteering at a local after-school program. I taught kids how to paint, how to make things with their hands, how to express what they couldn't always say out loud. One kid, Marcus, asked if I lived in a castle because he thought my house was fancy. I laughed, but it made me realize this place wasn't just shelter, it was a symbol. I had built something stable when all I ever knew was instability. One day, I got a letter, a real one, handwritten in my mom's cursive. It smelled like her perfume. Inside were two neatly written pages full of phrases like, "We didn't know," "It was never meant to hurt you," and "We only wanted what was best." There was no mention of the property, the stolen income, or the fact that they had airbrushed me out of their lives. But the line that stayed with me was this: "You've always been so strong. We didn't realize you needed anything from us." That was the problem. They never asked. They assumed my silence was strength when it was really survival. I didn't reply to the letter. I didn't throw it away either. I placed it in a drawer, not out of hope, but as a reminder, a marker of how far I'd come. Now I wake up with sunlight streaming through my bedroom windows. I make coffee and sit in the garden with the hummingbirds and bees. The silence that used to sting now feels like peace. I don't check my phone for guilt-laced messages. I don't replay old arguments in my head. I don't wonder if I'm enough, because I know I am. This house, this life, it's mine. Not handed down, not borrowed, not stolen, earned. Built with care and clarity and more courage than anyone in my family ever gave me credit for. And when people ask me now if I miss them, my answer is simple. Number, I miss who I thought they were, but not who they really are. I don't live for apologies anymore. I live for the life I've created. And every day I choose that life, I'm choosing myself. In a world where we're constantly told that family is everything, it can be devastating to realize that not all families live up to that promise. For many people, including those like Alex in this story, love was conditional, support was transactional, and respect was never freely given. His journey reminds us of one essential truth. Just because someone shares your blood doesn't mean they deserve access to your life. One of the most powerful lessons we can draw from Alex's story is that boundaries are not a form of rebellion. They're a form of healing. He didn't walk away because he hated his family. He walked away because he needed peace. And that's something many of us forget. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to step away from relationships that drain you, no matter how familiar or expected they are. Another lesson is about self-worth. Alex spent years trying to prove himself, thinking that success would finally earn him the respect and love he always craved. But success doesn't heal emotional neglect. Only self-respect can. The moment he stopped seeking validation from those who refused to see him, that's when he truly found his strength. Finally, we're reminded that real family isn't just about DNA. It's about presence, empathy, and unconditional care. The people who show up when you're at your lowest, who stand by you even when there's nothing to gain, those are your real people. It's okay to choose those people over the ones who never chose you. If you've ever felt like the black sheep, if you've ever had to walk away to preserve your peace, know this: you are not alone. And you are not broken for doing what's best for your mental and emotional well-being. If this story touched your heart or made you reflect on your own journey, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and subscribe to our channel for more real, powerful Reddit family dramas that go deeper than the surface. Your story matters, and here, it's safe to tell it.